How's it going, guys? It's your boy JoJo's Whips back with another video. And it's been a while since I've done a video because, I've been honestly just enjoying the car for myself and whatnot. But I did have a little issue, which we'll get about into later in the video. But for right now, though, so the car was on a next-gen 6062, and I'm going to be putting a next-gen 6466 on here. So pretty much everything lines up. It's pretty much the same exact placement as it was with the 6062. The 6466 does have the SCP cover, so I'll be able to retain my 2.5-inch charge piping. But yeah, no, I've been just slowly kind of just messing with the car. And the reasoning also too with doing this with the 6466 is the power goals. So with the 6062, we had to make a lot of boost, almost 40 pounds of boost to get that 600 wheel mark, because it is a pretty small turbo, especially for this motor. So with the 6466, probably in mid boost, maybe in the high 20s, we should be able to accomplish that. And then with some tweaks and whatnot with Desmond over at Performance Destination, I'm sure he could probably even make 800 with this motor, but we just got to keep the torque down. If we can keep the torque around the 600 wheel torque range, then we should be perfectly fine. But as of right now, I am going to be also switching my charge piping. So most of the charge piping now is going to be with the Vibrant quick release clamps, and then this I'm going to still retain as a silicone with just because I've never had an issue with this part. But I was blowing couplers, the coupler on the air to water intercooler side, both of them numerous times, and I'm just over it. And honestly, the Vibrant quick release clamps honestly look a million times better. And then I also kind of figured too, that I'm going to try to clean the bay up some more. It does look really horrendous right now because I've been moving stuff and taking things out of the car. I'm going to be changing the fuel regulator. I'm going to be ordering another one. I'm going to redo some more stuff as well too, just to clean up the bay. And I did actually build a custom, coolant reservoir. I think it came out phenomenal. And the nice thing is it's, fairly easy to change the plugs. With that bubble one, I could still change it anyways, but I just wanted something, pretty nice. I feel like it looks a lot better than the bubble did. And then, pretty much just this bolt and a bolt down there, and I could take this out and I could change the spark plugs if I need to. So here goes the 6062 that was on the car. It had a 0.82 back housing, and then this is the 6466. I got the compressor housing off because I was doing some fabricating with it. But it is a 105 back housing, a lot chunkier. And honestly, with this back housing being bigger, technically, we should get a little bit laggier, which is honestly better in my opinion. So that way we could try to keep the wheel torque down, because, so in the car I already have a map switch, which I'll show you guys here now. Yeah, so my map switch is actually in here. I built this a while ago. So we're basically going to do map 1, map 2, map 3. Map 1 will just obviously be wastegate. Map 2 will be medium boost. And then map 3 then will be the full kill. So I would like to have medium boost be, about 600 wheel. I think it would honestly be like right on the money with this car. And then, then on map 3, then we can make 800 plus, but I just got to, as long as we can make, 600 torque or around there, that's where we just got to stay. We can't make over that because, no girdle being in here is my very big limiting factor. And then I actually do have another new update. I am building a stroker motor, and that has it's going to have a vast girdle and all that kind of stuff. I already got the Wiseco pistons from AMD. So that motor, I want to be very reliably be able to run 800 horsepower. With this setup on 800, it's funny to call it reliable, but, it'll be okay, because it's not always going to be rain on that. I'll probably always run the car on map 2, not unless every now and then I'll throw it in map 3, but majority of the time it will be in map 2, unless I'm running 93, then obviously it's only going to be on gate. But yeah, so let me get all the stuff back on so you guys can see how it all looks. And yeah, we could go forward with this video. And then I'll tell you guys what the big issue is with why I don't really care right now as far as the car being blown apart. It was a very stupid little situation. Yeah, so another thing I'm also going to do too as well, because, the intercooler does sit right here. And with the manifold, the exhaust manifold being right there, obviously it puts off some heat. So I'm going to be running a heat shield there. All right, guys, and as you guys can see, I got my charge pipes all done. I may have skipped a step with you guys, but I ended up getting them all welded. And for those of you that don't know, these are actually the alignment clamps you can buy from Vibrant. And all they basically do is so that way then you don't got to keep putting your clamps on and on. And it basically allows it so there is a slight little gap in between, as you guys can see like in there, there's a slight gap, and you want that gap so then that way when you do put one of these clamps on, you'll have maximum movement, you know, more adjustability versus, you know, if you just aligned it with one of these. So and you guys can see that I am obviously short right here, and that's because I ordered another one of these couplers, because when I originally bought it, I had chopped it down because, you know, these usually run about to like right here. So with that new one, I'll probably trim it about right here, just so you know it's not too long. Maybe I'll just leave the extra length, I don't know, we'll see. But the blow off valve's still clear, as I already tested that out. So as far as that all goes, I just got to grind all the welds down and then send it all off back to powder again. So, you know, send the compressor cover, the charge pipes, and the intercooler. And then meanwhile that's getting done, I'm going to start working on my fuel setup. So I'm actually going to change my fuel pressure regulator setup as well too. So I'm going to have a bigger regulator because, you know, we were having some fuel pressure issues. And I'm also going to be bumping up my return line to a -8. So it's a -8 feed now and a -8 return. So I'm going to mount my regulator right here, and then you guys will see that here in a minute. I'm going to drill it out and then throw some riv nuts in there, so then that way, you know, it'll bolt in and out very nicely. So in the future, if I ever got to take it out, I could do that. And then I am going to redo my line setup. I did not like this line being here. You know, it is pretty close to the belt. All right, so now I got my new fuel pressure regulator in. This is a Welding. It's a pretty nice beefy unit. I'm honestly surprised it fit there pretty good. And yeah, I still got plenty of clearance. I'll throw the intercooler back on so you guys can see how much clearance I actually do have. And then also for my sake, because I haven't even looked at it yet, and I got the intercooler on here now so you guys can see how much room I actually have. I got plenty of space. I am going to be buying another one of these radium fittings to go right here, just so I could, you know, have that nice tight fitment. And then yeah, pretty much then the return line could just go right there. And then the feed. So I'm actually only going to be utilizing one of the feeds because the way I'm going to do my fuel setup, I'm basically going to have it jump from this rail to this rail, and then the return line then is going to jump down there and then go to here, and then, you know, then returning to the tank is going to then be down there. All right, and then for those of you that are wondering why I have to pull my motor and trans out, I saw that the slave cylinder was leaking. So I went to pull the slave cylinder out to replace it because I have a Clutch Masters one. And the rod on the slave cylinder ended up, because I had to kind of, you know, maneuver it a little bit to get it out. And when I did that, it ended up catching the lip of the throwout fork, and it basically like somehow slid it out. So when I pulled it out, that rod basically stayed in there, and then the rod essentially fell. So I had some pliers. You know, it's a very awkward angle down there. And I didn't think at all that it would be able to fall even deeper. So I was trying to pull it, and then I had to readjust the pliers. And when I readjusted it, it basically slid down the bell housing. Now, so obviously I could do this a little bit easier. I could just back the trans up a little bit and then just get it out. And there are access ports on there, but with how thick that rod is and how close the clutch and stuff ride on those access ports on the bell housing, there's no way that rod's coming out. So I'm gonna have to separate it. But instead, I was like, honestly, I could just do a motor pull because there are a couple of things I wanted to address that aren't too big of a deal, but I'd like to still just fix them. You know, I might as well, and it's not very hard at all to pull this all apart. So I'm just going to pull the motor out and then separate the motor and trans a little bit till it falls out. All right, about an hour and a half later, got the whole front end off. Got all this stuff off. I'm going to try to see if I can pull the whole motor out with the hot side still on. I should be able to. I'll probably just have to pull off my wastegate dumps, because they might hit the axles or the subframe, but those are easy. Those are just a couple of V-bands, but it's a little nerve-wracking seeing the car at this point again. I haven't seen it like this in a very long time. But yeah, let me get these dump pipes off, and then I'm gonna try to get this motor out, and then that way we could then see that rod come out between the motor and the trans, but let's slowly get there. All right, just like that, I got the motor all out, which went pretty good. And then now I got my transmission separated from the motor, and then look what fell out, the little rod. This is literally why I had to take the whole motor and transmission out of the car. I could have just dropped this front subframe and just dropped the transmission a little bit, you know, just slid it back, but there was a couple other things I wanted to do. I wanted to change these exhaust studs out on the manifolds, and then do a couple other little things. I was probably gonna get the hot side Cerakoted coated, which technically I didn't need to take the motor out for that, but while it's out, I'm just gonna do it anyways. I'm gonna throw a new alternator on. Same thing, I could have done it in the car, but while it's out, I might as well just do it. And then, you know, with these cars, it's a lot of, you know, while it's out, you might as well just do it. So, yep. So let's get this motor and transmission back together, and then I can start working on all these other little projects. I don't know if I'm gonna get this Cerakoted quite yet. I mean, I would like to, but we'll just see how this video goes, because this video is going over a course of a while. And so what I did notice though, my biggest thing was too, I was also going to change the exhaust manifold studs, but as you guys can see, it's pretty oily here. And the reasoning behind that is all my valves are leaking. And I had a feeling when I had these heads done that, because they got done pretty fast and it was a pretty good price from what I've heard other people had paid. And so I was a little wishy-washy on it, but you know, the place I took it to, they had some pretty good reviews. But obviously, this was even before we turned it up or anything. This is like even way back, you know, when I had like 100 miles on the car, I started noticing some oil dripping off of here, but I had assumed it was maybe one of the cam seals, which it wasn't. Everything is, you know, bone dry. I have to do next though is I'm going to get the motor and transmission back together. So I haven't got it back together quite yet. Gotta have somebody help me push this side so I can push that side and we can get them back together. I'm going to bolt that all back down. I'm going to get everything all tidied up, and then I'm going to pop the heads off, and I'm going to send them to a new machine shop I found over in Orlando. And that machine shop honestly looks more promising. And all right, to continue the video, this is about a month later. I got a lot of little things done. I actually had to pull the heads. I can't remember if I spoke about that in the other videos, but the reason I had to pull the heads is that the valve guides were leaking really bad. I'll include some pictures so you guys can see how much oil and stuff it was leaking into the exhaust manifolds. But I have the heads rebuilt now. They actually did the Super Tech guides. The other machine shop I used, they used the stock guides, and I highly doubt they even measured anything, because literally every single guide just had marks inside the, you know, the exhaust side. You could just see oil was just spraying out. So these heads now, I took them to another machine shop. They did a pretty good job. 3-angle valve job. I actually had a couple bent valves, but that was probably on my end, because I forgot when I put the heads down, I still had the cams in, so I'm pretty sure I just bent them that way. Because I mean, the car ran and drove perfectly fine, didn't have a misfire or anything. I didn't see any nicks or anything on the pistons when I looked at them. So yeah, so these are, you know, technically a good set of built heads now. I got the transmission back together. I actually changed my boost lines now for my wastegates. I used these push connect fittings because before I had PTFE lines, and I like how these just are overall better. So yeah, the motor's pretty much ready to go back in. I tightened it and everything. And so yeah, so in this video, we are also going to be throwing the motor back in. I did actually my linkage upgrade as well too, because before it was very sloppy, and I like how now, like when you shift it, it's like, you know, I mean, it's kind of hard to do it from here, but it's like very nice, you know, with this weighted part, makes it a lot easier to shift. And then I am running this Clutch Master slave cylinder, and I also am running the Clutch Master cylinder in the car. Gotta get the front end on. The garage is a mess, so I am gonna clean that up real quick, just try to put everything away, start picking up the floor, because this floor is disgusting. And yeah, I pretty much could throw those back in now, finally. So yeah, there she is. We got the motor back up in the car finally. I pretty much just threw this on for now. I'm just doing some test fitting for the fuel lines, because I'm running entirely new lines, basically a whole new fuel system. Just got to do that 45. I got to run the new fuel line, the new frag oil line under the car, and it's going to pop up right there. And then pretty much I could throw the front end back on. I could put my cooler back on for the intercooler, put my intercooler on, and literally the car is pretty much, I'd say right now, 75% done. Got everything on the bottom torqued down, drive shaft, axles. So, yep, the car's coming together. Hopefully, I'm hoping, honestly, within 4 to 5 days, I can have a first startup, and then should be able to be driving then. Because, you know, like I said, the tune on the car is perfectly. The only thing that's changed is the turbo, which on the turbo, I am going to be only running on gate for now, since, you know, this is a 6466. Originally, I had a 6062. The previous turbo was a next gen. This one's a next gen as well. So I think this one on gate would be, you know, maybe in the mid to high 500 horsepower range. You know, with the other setup, the car made, you know, a little over 600. So I think I'm going to be kind of fine. You know, all I have to do is just keep an eye on the air-fuel ratio. If it's off too much, then I could always just swap turbos. I still have the original turbo. Only downside is that since I'm running these vibrant flanges, I'm going to have to, you know, I'm just gonna have to build a new one of these elbows for the 6062. So as you guys can see, we got our carbon ducts back on, front end back on. If you guys are wondering why I have these ducts here like that, you know, because since I am running an air-to-water intercooler, so this side is where my oil cooler sits and my power steering cooler, and then on that side is where my air-to-water radiator sits. So pretty much did it exactly kind of like how the factory intercoolers are. But and then I also charged up the coolant system. I did a vacuum test on it as well too to make sure there was no leaks before I filled it up, and then everything came out perfect. And the car is about 97% done. So I did get to start it, but I did run into a little bit of an issue, which I have getting addressed now. So hopefully in the next week, I'll have my things back, and you know, in the next video, we can go over what happened, and then pretty much we can run and drive the car. So if you guys stay tuned for the next video coming out, hopefully in the next week. This is JoJo's Whips, and I'm out.